Rumble has announced a lawsuit against a so-called Watchdog group for lying about how they generate revenue. And this is getting interesting. Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO, says the cavalry has arrived in response to Elon Musk suing Media Matters, saying they're getting involved as well. The group in question is an organization that targets right-leaning media outlets, advertisers, with what appears to be outright lies and misinformation in order to get their ads dropped. Now, I can say this. I will say that as it pertains to me, I can't speak for anybody else. It's presumed. I can say as it pertains to us at Timcast, we've been targeted by this group, but the group uses deceptive language and manipulation to fundraise off of people by claiming things like Tim Pool pushed the big lie. Well, what does the big lie really mean? Well, it's typically defined by media outlets as Donald Trump's claims that it was impossible. He did not win 2020 and it was stolen from him, which I've never claimed. Not once. In fact, I've claimed almost the entire time. In fact, just last week, that the reason Trump lost was being outplayed in ground game. And there are certainly questions about whether or not legislatures have the right to run their elections. And my conclusion there is it needs to be adjudicated, not that Trump actually won. It's fascinating, however. This group has used these claims against us and then claimed they ran successful campaigns against us, claiming that we've lost sponsors recently. Not true. Not only have we not lost any sponsors, we've actually added new sponsors. And I'll say this, private business, but we recently finalized, 2 6-figure sponsorship deals. What are they talking about when they come out with these claims? Oh, look what we did. Here's what I see. They want you to believe that they're doing something successful. And against some people, probably. Against us, I have no idea what they're talking about. But they're claiming they've run these successful campaigns and that we've lost our sponsors, and we didn't. But whatever. Let's read the lawsuit, and then I'm going to break down what this organization does and why they're being targeted. Rumble writes, November 29th, Rumble, the video sharing platform and cloud services provider, filed a lawsuit today in federal court in Florida against 2 co-founders of a purported watchdog organization. Rumble sued Nandini Jami and Claire Atkin, co-founders of Check My Ads, a 501c3 tax-exempt organization that routinely targets news outlets and platforms that do not adhere to their political worldview. Also named as defendants are John Doe's numbers 1 through 10, as yet to be identified individuals who helped prepare and publish the defamatory information on their website. When they launched, I believe it was one of their first campaigns, they have this image of me, along with many others. They claimed that I pushed Trump's claims that he won the election. That is so absurdly false that not only did I never claim Trump won in 2020, I debated Steve Bannon 2 times on Timcast IRL that Trump lost because people did not like him. Now, it's a bit more complicated than that. I think the Democrats had better ground game. The argument that they're trying to claim is that I argued there was fraud or something. No, didn't do that. There's a viral video showing me claiming Trump could win in a landslide over and over and over again. Of course, they stripped the context out. And then it ends with me saying Joe Biden has won on the day Joe Biden won. Since that day, I have never been a fan of the fraud narrative or Trump's claims that he actually won. It was stolen from him. And I've argued against them. They fundraise off of it. They target our company off of it. Now, at a certain point, I have to wonder whether or not, what qualifies as fraud or tortious interference. But I won't say too much in that regard. Let's read more. Rumble says, as an unapologetically free speech platform, Rumble's mission is to provide all content creators and users a place to speak, listen, and debate freely, regardless of their political perspective. When anti-free speech zealots, whose self-declared mission is to shut Rumble down, lie to inflict intentional economic harm on our company, we have no choice but to hold them accountable, said Rumble chairman and CEO Chris Pavlovsky. Defamation is not free speech. We have filed this lawsuit because we have a responsibility to our shareholders, creators, users, and advertisers to act and not sit idly by. When someone attacks our company's reputation solely to silence differing political views, our mission requires it. They say Jami has a track record of launching pressure campaigns against advertisers on other outlets, including Fox News and Breitbart, and has worked with Media Matters. The lawsuit alleges that Jami and Atkin cannot tolerate Rumble's content-neutral philosophy and want competing points of view to be silenced. As cited in the suit, the defendants accuse Rumble of lying to its shareholders and the Securities and Exchange Commission about the company's financial health and the source of its revenue. That's insane. Defendants have repeatedly peddled the false narrative that Rumble is primarily monetized by and wholly dependent on revenue from Google Ads, when in reality, Google Ads now represent less than 1% of the company's revenue. This narrative is particularly damaging to Rumble. The notion that Rumble is heavily dependent on ad revenue from Google is wholly inconsistent with Rumble's publicly stated mission to be free from the political and economic pressures of big tech. And it is equally damaging to Rumble because it falsely attributes a material and existential financial risk to the company. The defendant's stated mission to eliminate Rumble's Google ad revenue will cause Rumble's financial collapse. This suit also points out the defendants knew their claim about Rumble's reliance on Google ad revenue for survival was false, and the defendants refused to correct their statements when Rumble demanded a retraction. I will say, after these people claimed that I was pushing the big lie, I simply told them, I was like, not only is that not true, I've debated against that idea. And it does look like they may have deleted some of the posts about me, perhaps realizing, whoopsie, they raised what, $40,000 off of the lie that I claimed Trump won in 2020. You know, I just got to say, there is in the Times v. Sullivan standard for defamation and libel and slander, there is the actual malice standard, which means you knew what you were saying was false, or you had such reckless disregard for the truth, you published these lies. Anyone who ever watched any one of my videos talking about this, I have always said these fraud narratives are false, but the question is the adjudication based on whether or not state legislatures have a right to determine how their elections are run. That is to say, I made no determination about whether or not Trump really won, other than say Joe Biden won, both in the electoral vote count and by the fact that he's in the White House. And if Trump wants to sue, the judges should answer these things so we get resolution on the matter. And then they ran the inverse. And we'll go over that. They say the lawsuit closely follows one filed by X against Media Matters. They say the irony is that the defendants piously claim to be in the business of protecting us all from disinformation, but they are the ones lying to the public. I will add this too. This organization, these activists, it's just insane lies, and they publish false information and then goad people into donating. Call that whatever you want. The lawsuit opens up another front in the ongoing war against censorship, much like X's recently filed suit against Media Matters. Let me show you what they have. Pavlovsky, the CEO, says, as promised, the cavalry has arrived. Multiple fronts are now being opened up against corporate media and activists by multiple companies. Rumble will use all our might in defending our mission against activists who want to destroy us. Uh-oh, he's got a typo. Here's a tweet from Claire Atkin, one of the organizers. She tweeted, Rumble, the most toxic place on the internet, and which is just an absurd opinion because they're arguing Rumble's worse than, say, 4chan, come on, or 8chan, is 90% funded by Google Ads. But the advertisers using Google didn't know until now. For days now, Nandoodles and I have been attacked by Dan Bongino and libs of TikTok. They hate that advertisers are leaving. But Rumble has clearly stated that's not the case. They are not 90% funded or dependent on this on Google. She said, to clarify, approximately 90% of Rumble's programmatic display ad revenue comes from Google Ads. So I love that they're going after Siraj Hashmi's show, saying like, this is what I saw when I went to the Rumble homepage. Uh-huh. Siraj. So here's their post. They say that blah, blah, blah. You get it. Block the domain. They're dependent. So this is the point. Rumble is saying, no, we're not. This is not true. And they use this information as a means to fundraise. I got a lot more to show you guys. This is just updates. I don't think that's anything relevant. Let me show you this one. Let's talk about who this organization is. Now, my understanding is that the woman who founded this is upset because she was like, there was a guy who started something called Sleeping Giants. Sleeping Giants did very much the same thing. They targeted advertisers and tried to get people censored. She's trying to claim that she was a co-founder, but I think that's disputed. And it sounds like she's salty over not getting credit for something someone else did. So she's claiming she co-founded Sleeping Giants. I think there's an actual founder of the organization, and she was like an intern or did mail for the company or something, but wanted that credit. She's obviously very salty about it. That's who she is. January 5th, 2022. Here's our plan to defund the insurrectionists. A handful of advertising platforms are bankrolling the J6 insurrectionists. This is really funny. It's time to change that. Oh, here, look at this. Here's a picture of me. So I see this for the first time and I'm like, insurrectionist, me? What does that even mean? Well, let's take a look. They go on to insult Steve Bannon, blah, blah, blah. They go on to say Bannon's not alone. Charlie Kirk, Glenn Beck, Dan Bongino, Tucker Carlson, and Tim Pool, the, quote, J6, the 6 loudest proponents of the big lie. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The 6 loudest proponents of the big lie. Well, what's the big lie? Here's CNN breaking down what the big lie is. They say the term comes from Adolf Hitler. And what is it? The election was stolen because it's not possible Trump didn't win. They say, in Trump's telling, the big lie is that the election was stolen from him. A lie as massive as the stealing of an election with hundreds of millions of voters requires a bunch of smaller lies. Trump used to sow doubt about the election. CNN's Facts First team has been writing about Trump's specific election lies for many months. So they say millions of ballots have been altered by Democrats. I've never claimed it. I've refuted it. All of the mechanical glitches, I never supported that. I've always refuted it. 700,000 ballots were not allowed to be viewed in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, which means based on our great Constitution, we win the state of Pennsylvania. I have never claimed any of these things. In fact, only ever argued against them. My position has always been fine. Then have a court review this. Next question. Joe Biden got the votes. Joe Biden won. Joe Biden is the president. All of these narratives about all of these things are meaningless. And some people argue, no, because, the ballots were flipped in this place and this place. Oh, yeah, there were stories about ballots flipping. There were. And it was like a few hundred. And the courts were like, this doesn't change anything. Donald Trump actually won a decent amount of these lawsuits. That's a fact, not my opinion. It's not a lie. Courts ruled in favor of Trump, and they ruled that the amount of ballots in question did not alter the results. By all means, you can talk about procedural and legislative and constitutional challenges, to which my response is, interesting point. Get that in court. Now, of course, many of these courts threw these out in standing, so it's never been properly adjudicated. So as I've often said, Joe Biden won. It's not about did he get more votes than Trump? Argue that all day and night. I think that according to the results, he did. You can then argue they cheated. Doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned. You can argue about integrity and all that stuff. My point is, if we are talking about political powers trying to steal power, Biden is the one in the White House. The battle at the end of the day resulted in Joe Biden in the White House. Now we'll see what happens in 2024. So there's your big lie. And they claim that I pushed that. Now, many of you may be arguing in the comments right now, say, Tim, you're wrong. Please do so. But that's my point. When have I ever come out and been like, it's actually true, these things? Never. Steve Bannon comes on this show 2 times, and I tell him Trump got anti-elected. People try to claim there's no way Joe Biden got 85 million votes. You're right. Donald Trump lost 85 million votes. He also gained 10 million more votes. I think the really simple answer is we saw many states change the way elections were handled through mail-in voting. This gave tremendous advantages to Democrats. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. Democrats tremendously benefited. This is academic fact from mail-in votes in dense urban populations. I didn't just make this up. This is true. And they advocated for these things. And even in many circumstances, Republicans agreed with them. This allowed ground activists to secure through ballot chasing and harvesting substantial numbers of votes, which gave Biden a massive edge. Not to mention, enthusiasm against Donald Trump was higher than for Donald Trump. Now, don't get me wrong. New information may come to light. We'll see. We had Brian Lupo on the show talking about some of these things. And people are like, what's your answer to this, Tim? I'm like, my answer is a guy telling me a thing isn't me reading the court documents and knowing for sure. I'm not going to tell him he's wrong. So sure, fine. I don't know. My point is, based on what we assess, we don't see that. Now, hold on there a minute. I'm a proponent of the big lie. Y'all are probably mad at me. No, not literally. I think a lot of you probably agree. I've talked to so many people saying, I think the real problem is that the fraud narrative is disincentivizing Trump's base. We saw this with the Georgia Senate elections. People were like, what's the point of voting? It was stolen. No, they want you not to vote. They want you to believe this. So here's what they do. So blah, 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 meet the insurrectionists. Sure, whatever. And let's come down to the good old Tim Pool section. Tim Pool section. Okay, here we go. Charlie Kirk is here. Look at me. They put me on the bottom. A quote from Tim Pool in September of 2020. The right-wing militias, the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, and just the Proud Boys and Trump supporters, they're going to rush full speed to D.C. They're going to take the White House and do whatever they can, and paramilitary. Okay, clearly this quote is incorrect because it's a nonsense statement. Like, it's not a complete sentence. But assuming there's a gist of this that's correct, I'd say, yeah, I probably said something like that. Did anyone take the White House? No, they didn't. Well, hold on there a minute. What's the accusation they're trying to make? They're trying to claim I had insider knowledge of the violence on Capitol Hill, despite the fact my quote was about the White House. No, the quote was, I'm just a smart guy, I guess, and I can take a look at what's going on and then make assumptions about what might happen. How crazy is that? They say, Tim Pool's stupid. He thought something was going to happen. It didn't happen. Yeah, I think a lot of things are going to happen don't happen because I'm not psychic. But hold on. Here's one of the things that I almost got right. During 2020, in September, with everything going on, my point was these right-wing groups, they're going to like storm D.C., man. Why? Not because I knew anything, because I was reading the news. How crazy is that? Remember when Alex Jones predicted major war was coming in like February of 2022? And then all of a sudden everyone was like, how did Alex Jones know this? Everyone was like, Alex Jones predicted this. He didn't. I was talking to Alex and he was like, dude, I was just reading the news, man. He read an article about fear that Putin would invade at this time. And so he made a segment talking about it. It's just so insane that I can be reading the news and be like, wow, look at what these guys are saying in these news articles, giving quotes to Newsweek. They're going to do this thing. They never did storm the White House, though. Sorry, guys. I was wrong about that. Here's what they say. I have 11 videos in the top 100 most watched videos that promote vote by mail disinformation. The disinformation in question is not even related to this. Here's what they say at Media Matters. They say in a video posted by Tim Pool, he said, if you can protest, you can show up to vote in person as an indictment of ongoing demonstrations against police brutality and racism. However, according to a study, hold on. My opinion that if you are walking around outside, you can also walk to a voting booth. That's not even vote by mail disinformation. This is what they're claiming. You see, Media Matters is disinformation. This is serious disinformation. Trying to make it seem like I'm lying about mail-in voting by having the opinion that if you're not scared to go outside to protest, you shouldn't be scared to go vote. I don't care what the study says about a clear, significant negative correlation between the population who protest and go vote. I'm saying those specific people who protest can go vote. Next question. This is the game they play. It's how they lie. So what is this? Tim Pool is proud to trumpet his success. I think it's important to point out that I'm rich and it's not a secret. He's done this by promoting the big lie. It's actually completely not true. I also want to say, I don't know who any of these companies are. Seriously, Google, obviously I know who they are, but what's Undertone, Yieldmo, Mantis, Smart Ad Server? I don't know what those things are. Whatever, though. They've posted a bunch of lies about us. Here's their confirmed list. They say YouTube permanently banned Dan Bongino. Now, this one's interesting. They wrote confirmed. Freestar dropped Timcast.com, Tim Pool's website. I don't entirely know what that is about, but I will just say this. You know what? Okay. Nandini Jami is making the claim that through her actions, she got one of our contracts broken. Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. I'm just now finding this out that they're claiming this, huh? Okay. All right. Wow. Wow, that could be millions of dollars in damages. I mean, if we're talking about the amount of money generated per ad and our estimations, interesting. I'm going to have to talk to my lawyers about what that means, that they're taking credit for interfering in a business contract that I had with an ad network. Huh. Confirmed Tim Pool's website has been demonetized, except for Rev content. She said, anyone else not seeing very many ads on timcast.com? You see the game they play. Now, I'll just reserve some of that. We'll have to go and look into that Freestar thing. Interesting. You know, one thing that they posted was that they had this article up. Actually, I don't think I have it anymore. I don't know. It was talking about timcast.com and that the fact that we're selling coffee. And they said that after a successful campaign, our ads were dropped. I just want to say this. This show has never lost a sponsor. In terms of activism, like sponsors come and go, so I can't say we've ever lost a sponsor. Sometimes they don't renew for 1 month and then come back a few months later. So they're not dropping us. It's just they buy from us like every so often. We actually just signed a couple 6-figure deals. I shouldn't say signed, I said finalized. We have signed one, finalized another, which basically means like the deal's done, but I want to be very, very specific in terms of what it means to actually sign on the dotted line. I don't know that we actually sign any of these deals, but we've gotten paid. Why is it that Timcast.com started promoting Cast Brew? Well, most of you know this. We're promoting our own companies. Why sponsor someone? Why promote someone else's brand and get less money when I can sponsor myself and make more? Cast Brew Coffee is, I think we're on track for over $1 million a year in revenue in our first, in our maybe not by our first year because, but we Cast Brew might crack over $1 million in its first year. It's going great. Here's the important thing. That's revenue, not profit. And this investment allows us to control the value of the brand, the brick and mortar locations, all this really great stuff. When we have sponsors and I read out a company and say, hey, go to this company's website, we get paid a flat rate. That's all we get. That's it. When I say go to castbrew.com and buy our coffee, not only are we building the brand, increasing sales, we are creating a valuable asset in the company itself. So there comes a point where most people are like, if you can command influence and build a brand, build your own. So we did. They tried using this to claim we lost our sponsors, when in fact, all our sponsors are still there. Huh. How about that? These people are liars and they trick people. Confirmed Tim Pool's website's demonetized. First of all, that's grossly misleading. Our website is not demonetized at all in any way. We don't run ads on the website because they're worthless. But, I'm going to have to look in that Freestar thing. What's this? Tortious interference, perhaps. This is the game they play. Look, maybe it's true for like Breitbart or whatever, excuse me. But these are grifters, man. This is the game they play. They use deceptive language. They use the phrase big lie because they'll argue in court it doesn't mean what anyone thinks it means, and then you have to try and prove what it means. They try to be very careful in the language they use. Confirmed, demonetized. They want you to think they're the ones doing these things when in reality it's like we took down ads off the website to put up our own. We were launching a book, and so we were like, hey, let's put our own book up. And they're like, aha, his ads are gone. And I'm like, what? They're like, his ads are gone. He's promoting his coffee instead. And I'm like, yeah, we're building a brand. A coffee company that's now worth like millions of dollars that I own and we make more money doing. Things are going great here. But we'll have to take a look into this. Congratulations and good job for Rumble filing the lawsuit against these people. And we'll see. I do want to say it looks like they may have deleted several posts about me personally after I told them like, hey, you're lying. I think they had said things that were explicitly like Tim Pool claims Trump won or something like that. And then there's like videos all over of me arguing with Ben and saying Trump lost. You see the dirty game they play? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.